I like to think that I'm like a man of nature, but I think I'm not.
I think you'd be all right.
I'm not very handy. I'm
You're
not very
Australian.
practical. Yeah, but so I
Yeah.
guess that gives you an inherent sense of outdoorsiness, but
Yeah.
I'm not practical. Like, I can't even put up a shelf. So I think that'd like that I think I'd be in trouble. If I had to light a
Yeah.
fire, no way. If I
Yeah.
had to light a fire to cook some food, everything I would have would be raw. So it depends how quickly I got food poisoning.
Yeah.
What about
Me?
you? Yeah.
Well, I like to, I think something I just love about Tolkien's work is his love of nature and his kind of connection to kind of this wisdom of knowing the land. And kind of, I like to think there's a bit of that in me from coming from farming stock, but who knows?
Mm.
But then I think also what I love about it is that I think that for Galadriel, she loves Middle Earth. She loves it so much that she refused to go to Valinor
Mm.
and went against the elves. But also, she does see more than her peers the possibility for how terribly things could go. And it's this desire to keep fighting, even though you might not believe it can work, I think is. I just feel like I'm living such a gilded life. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It is just, you're, it's all practical
Mm.
as well. So you're just stepping into this like incredible splendor. Um, and also you have all these people playing orcs, which is just incredible and terrifying. And
We've now known each other for half a
yeah,
decade, and
yeah, this is
it's the
crazy.
other cast and the crew members.
I think after season one, she is forever changed. Um, and I think it's kind of a moment that could have led her to terrible things
Mm.
that is actually leading her towards peace and light. Um, but yeah, it was really fun kind of coming back to it and feeling that her status and power and everything was so different.
Mm.
And her idea about herself was so different.
I didn't let you see my character
No.
for the whole thing because it's not like because we weren't filming. We filmed for I don't know. It was nearly 10, nearly a
Yeah.
year basically.
We'd see each other in the stunt gym,
Yeah,
but I didn't see him in all his finery
yeah.
for quite some
And
time.
I'd forgotten this, but we recorded a birthday
Mm,
message for Mordvith
yeah.
in the makeup truck, was it?
Yeah, and Charlie Edwards was like, Charlie is here, but he doesn't want you to see him. So he took it very
So I was
seriously.
singing in the back, or like speaking in the background, but I wouldn't go on the camera so that she didn't see what I looked like because it's
Yeah,
such a big thing for Sauron revealing it to Galadriel, like
yeah,
this is what I've become because of you in a way.
yeah.
Or you could have joined me, and maybe you still will.
But to be honest, I could have seen the outfit because it is such a transformation. They did such an amazing job on hair and makeup and costume, but the biggest change was in your eyes. And
Oh
that was
yeah.
really shocking to me. It was just this empty void that suddenly was behind his eyes, whereas with Halbrand there'd been such warmth. And that was quite an amazing thing to behold.
Shane, there's nothing behind my eyes. Just, but separate from that, an amazing actor because she has such a unique perspective on the world and is so incredibly herself and can be transformative within that because of her observations of humanity. And I think that's what is that makes her such a joy to watch on screen, but also more importantly, a wonderful person.
Oh.
And Morfydd, you could return the favor to him, making him a perfect villain.
Wrong.
Well, I do think that the people who play villains the best are people who walk through the world with a huge amount of kindness. And I think that it's kind of it's alarming to me how wonderful he is as a villain. And I think that Anatar is one of the best villains I've seen forever because he's so dastardly, but also you enjoy him. And that like I enjoyed watching him and he made me laugh. And I think yeah, Charlie being as far away from that as possible means he can go really deep into that.
That's a good point.
Fantastic, because also our characters have been talking about each other's characters and
Yeah.
obsessing over each other
Yeah.
for all this season, and it was a wonderful kind of climax to that.
Yeah.
And it was amazing for me to be back with Charlie, but him giving a completely different performance. It was really exciting for me as an actor to be able to kind of see this craft of Charlie's, that he was so transformed. I could barely recognize him, and
Yeah.
I couldn't have imagined that kind of he could play. Charlie's such a lovely person that it was really quite incredible for me to be frightened of him. Yeah, so that was great.
I think, yeah, and I mean, it's the same for me because we had worked so closely together for the whole of the first season, which was like 2 years, and then we filmed the second season for, I don't know, 8, 10 months, something like that, and
Yeah.
not cross paths a little bit to finally
Mm.
be able to share some considerable time together working on that sequence, and then a lot of rehearsal in the lead up.
Yeah.
It was a joy. It was a joy.
And
I think he's done such an amazing job of it. I think it's amazing to have a character, to be able to play one character, which Halbrand is, which has a lot of warmth to him. I think that's why people fell in love with him. And then to be able to kind of strip that away because there was such coldness to Ioannitar, something kind of cat-like.
Yeah,
And it was amazing to
serpenty,
watch.
cat.
Yeah.
Well, cats and serpents are very different, aren't they? To be honest.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a snake cat. Sorry.
She's so entwined with Middle Earth as a place. And it was really fun because it was such a contrast to season 1, where she was so strident and felt that she knew best. And it was also really, I loved kind of exploring this kind of really intense platonic relationship that she has with Elrond. Less time at the beach,
Yeah.
which is a bit sad. It kind of was interesting in terms of going into season 2, where kind of Middle Earth is quite altered because of Sauron coming back, and we were on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And so
I never thought about it like that. That's a
yeah.
good point.
There's this Welsh phrase called hiraeth about kind of longing for a world that kind of possibly never even quite existed. And sometimes our time in New Zealand feels like that because it was so marvelous and wonderful in every way. It pulls on me, and that was quite useful.
Yeah, the memory of it is amazing. And it is like, yeah, Middle Earth at another time, because it is the most all-encompassing job possible, because you're just there for so long and so many days with all the makeup and everything.
You were playing quite a evil manifestation of Sauron, so I can imagine that was quite nice to step away from that. But no, when we're filming it, it is kind of our time in New Zealand and our time filming it here, just huge parts of my life now, because nothing else exists but Middle Earth when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done 2 seasons of this massive show, and each of them have just basically been with another actor that's spectacular. Morfydd in the first season, and then Charlie in the second season. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing in like we each put so much work into it, but then again, it was like working with Morfydd in that the chemistry is kind of just comes really naturally. And I think it's a testament to the showrunners, and he has a real essence of just kind of mischief, which I think creates
so twinkly.
Twinkly is the word. And he is so just of the way he is, this effervescence.
Yeah.
Sound like a soft drink like that. But I think I kind of know what I'm doing. I think I'm going to be going. I've got to make the One Ring. I've got to go to Numenor.
It's going to be busy.
Yeah.
But also everyone's going to be getting more powerful. Kind of. There's kind of this frightening aspect of kind of everything becoming more. And can Middle Earth kind of hold all that power?
Do you know what you're? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Do I know what I'm doing?
Do you know what you're doing?
I'm very excited to see where Galadriel goes, because I think it's a big turning point. Where do you know she's on a journey to kind of the Galadriel of the Lady of Lothlorien that we kind of all know and love, and I'm just really excited to carry on that journey, because we started kind of with her as far away from that as we could make her.
Which I love. I love that. I love that choice, and it's, you can just see. You can see the whole. I mean, so far it's like you're watching a bell curve of like where she ends up, and I love like plotting her along the journey. She gets closer and closer to that. But I feel like he's just pops up randomly, so you could cross paths with him anywhere.
I hope I cross paths with Tom Bombadil. I'm obsessed with him.
Actually, I'd quite like to meet Kemen.
What and give? Oh, you'll love.
I
Cameron,
feel like
won't you?
Cameron's a big candidate for a ring. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I don't
Uh,
know. Unfortunately for Galadriel, she kind of pushes him back into the rabbit
Yeah.
hole.
And I think for Galadriel, she's never going to be free of that. There's a part of her that hungers for power, and that it's her first real rejection of power.
Yeah, at the end of the season.
Yeah, because I feel she thinks that she is going to die there. And I remember when all the elves were dying in Helm's Deep, being like, no, they're giving up immortality. Like, that is such a thing for an elf to kind of choose to possibly die.
But she inherently has power.
Yes.
Just from being her.
She's
And I loved
it.
one of my favorite parts of the season is when she's in the war room and Elrond walks in all sassy and it's like he's like, I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
And that to me is an insight into her of like, well, you don't like not being in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
But I think she also finds that quite like a curious new feeling.
Oh, and nice. Yeah. Nice.
I love this idea as well that one of the elves' connection with power is their wisdom, and to be truly wise is to know that you actually don't know everything.
And make the one ring and then go to Numenor and then go in a big battle and get the ring chopped off my finger. But it's kind of more open for you, isn't it? Apart from, you have to end up in Lothlorien.
I mean, she will be slowly relinquishing kind of her. She will be moving away from the sword, I guess. Yeah. What a frightening question. Yeah.
Both the character and to you.
Good guy.
Well, I think it's very painful for her to notice that there was any of Anatar in Halbrand. I think she's quite repulsed by Anatar.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's shocking to her that someone could be so cruel. But it's she's fighting herself as much as Sauron in that fight. Yeah.
Definitely. And
not all of it was deception. Like you were.
Yeah. She chose not to see. Yeah, exactly. She was complicit, and she chose to ignore the warning signs.
Yeah.
And she was hungry for revenge. And and she was also acting alone. And something about Sauron is that he is truly alone.
Yeah.
And that was her biggest error, really.
These are things he doesn't get with everyone else.
The way I like to see it was that like they both have like the same really intense synesthesia. So they're like, you see the sky like that? So do I. But they are also, he's the most evil creature in the whole of Middle Earth, which is devastating for her. Yeah. Be glad that we're in a show where some people are like, no, it's this, no, it's this. I mean, those are the type of conversations I love to have with my friends after I've watched something. And so I feel really happy that this is quite polarizing.
Yeah.
And I know how I feel about it, but I don't know how important that is now that it exists in the world. It's no longer ours.
Yeah, exactly. They'll forever be connected.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know, 100%. But if I was responsible, I would say yes.
Yeah. It would be exciting if they did, because they're both changing and growing. So every time they do cross path, there's going to be a very different kind of.
It's going to go down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I got flown to New Zealand not knowing who I was playing, and then was kind of told by the showrunners that I was playing Galadriel as if it was the best thing ever. And in one way it was, but I was also like, what? Really? Because it did feel like such a responsibility. And then I had to remind myself just how much I loved Middle Earth, and that I'd kind of was lucky enough. My dad read me The Hobbits, and I loved the books and I loved the films, and I was like, I can give her the respect she deserves. And then we talk about our characters so much and talk about kind of Middle Earth so much and stuff. I mean, but yeah, it's a responsibility, and it was quite frightening.
But she's also, kind of a kick-ass woman.
She is. I mean, and this is something I enjoyed as well, is that she's not a human woman.
Mm.
So she doesn't have the same kind of, she's not conditioned in the same way we are. I really wanted her to seem kind of free from kind of human woman shame that I feel is one of the things that's kind of put on us. He doesn't know what the fans are saying. I do.
What do you
Oh,
mean?
well,
In a good
Yeah.
way, you mean?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I like it's tricky because I don't really look at the fan reception that much, but I'm on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm not an offline person.
Yeah.
And I think the response has been really great. It's been really it's been lovely because
I think I also love seeing that people found him funny though.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was something I think you did so well, that like can have all this menace and still manage to find moments of like levity and
I
humor.
think that's important.
Fantasy all my life because I wanted to escape from school and stress and homework, and then that carried on into my adult life when I was escaping, unfortunately, more adult things and wished I was doing just homework again. And I feel immensely privileged to be a form of kind of escapism and safety for people. And it's been wonderful meeting people that have kind of been like, I just totally just go into Middle Earth. I turn on Rings of Power when I just want to kind of feel safe and in a totally different world, and that feels amazing.
we
Oh,
can't have Christmas in my house without that movie.
oh, that was such a joy to do as well. Yeah, Dan Stevens is just such a lovely man and a brilliant Dickens.
I've been really looking forward to this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I want to go back.
I think he genuinely really connected with her and was genuinely vulnerable and open with her because she understood him on a level that no one had for hundreds of years. You bring this light, and you've talked about it, this hope and understanding of a part of Middle Earth that Sauron does not, because he's like he has like quite evil tendencies, I think you can say.
I think also their chance meeting, I love that in Tolkien and in folklore in general, do you know, these chance meetings mean a lot. So both of them are kind of enchanted by this idea of how they met. Yeah, which I kind of like, because it's kind of this idea of history and tradition in Middle Earth, that even though they're very different within it, they both follow that. And truly probably one of the few people who could is like an evil god like Sauron. So that's been so much fun, and it's so exciting to kind of see all these little steps of her kind of becoming softer and falling more in love with the world, and kind of falling kind of away from herself and becoming part of like a greater whole. And yeah, I feel there's I love that Van Gogh quote when he's like, to be truly artistic is to love people, and I kind of like to think about that a lot with Gladriel as well, that she's remembering to love.
But you do that, you as Mordovith, I think. And I think you bring that element to your work of like an understanding of humanity and a watching of. I'm always quite amazed by that and envious of it, because I'm just like, I might just walk like this or like talk like this. But you have such a deep understanding of like humanity, and your observations on character and different parts of the world are so unique. And I think that's what makes your performances so amazing.
Thank you, Charlie.
You
Even literally framed, like if I'm having a thought, the camera might stay with me for an extra couple of seconds, which automatically tells the story of like, oh, something, he's planning something, he's plotting something. When in the first season, it might cut away from me and be looking at Galadriel or a tree or something. I don't know.
Which I think there was something I loved about kind of what you've made with Sauron, is because I think it's interesting to look at this type of kind of crazy bad behavior that's like, I can't control myself, and oh, it's taking over me. Whereas he's so considered. Yeah. Which makes him so much more frightening.
Everything is really considered and calculated, and has this level of sort of hubris and arrogance and self-love, which is a bit kind of repulsive. Basically, I find it really repulsive.
I love that he doesn't like being touched. I
Really doesn't like
enjoyed
that.
watching
Do
it as
not,
well.
do not touch him. It's funny that people picked up on that because
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
thanks.
love it.
Actually, Charlie probably,
No.
but it's got to be Robert Aramet.
Yeah, I think Rob knows the most.
I love that.
I like to kind of keep it close to her chest and then be like, yeah.
I was watching Johnny walk around, right? And I was like, why are you walking like that? And he was like, I'm just walking like you.
Oh,
So, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
like, God, that was kind of a brutal moment for me. Because he would just watch me and then try and embody what I was doing in order to, obviously tell the story. He is my unsung hero.
Yeah. And I think Valandil is one of my unsung
yeah.
heroes as well. I'm still smarting from his death.
Aggie.
Yeah. Great guy.